In 2024, headlines around the world reported on a scientific development that seemed too surreal to be true. Engineers had just unveiled a system that was not only capable of making flying objects disappear into their surroundings, but even create illusions so convincing that it could transform into something entirely different before the eyes of pilots trying to track it down. Now, a drone could blend seamlessly into the sky, vanish against the sea, or even masquerade as an animal in the wild, all without the need for human control. For America, possessing a tool like this means venturing into a new era of aerial warfare and ensuring that the legacy of its stealth fighter remains unchallenged for years to come, even as enemy radar systems continue to grow more efficient by the day. The catch: this groundbreaking invisibility cloak belongs to China. On December 1st, 1977, a bizarre-looking plane took off into the skies for the very first time. The model had a sharp, triangular silhouette lined with hard, straight angles across its fuselage, making it seem more like a paper plane than a serious military prototype. This was the Lockheed Half Blue, and in the cockpit sat Dol Park, the first pilot to fly an aircraft built for the express purpose of dodging radar. After years of costly losses in the Vietnam War, the U.S. military knew aerial combat had entered a new era. Stealth was no longer a luxury, and soon, a new generation of machines implementing it as their guiding principle began to rise. The F-117 Nighthawk and the B-2 Spirit were created as some of the most advanced aircraft America had ever assembled. These aircraft weren't just capable of carrying payloads strong enough to wipe out enemy fortifications with a single hit. They could also fly hundreds of miles into enemy territory without being detected. Yet stealth technology, as revolutionary as it was still not total invisibility. Even the most carefully engineered aircraft left faint signatures, and the US knew that if it didn't remain at the forefront, it was only a matter of time before adversaries learned how to track and stop its hidden attackers before they reached their targets. That day is now closer than ever. According to defense reports, both Russia and China are either on the verge of deploying or already operating radar systems capable of using long-wavelength detection or leveraging satellite-based technology to spot the smallest anomalies in the air and potentially track America's most advanced stealth aircraft. This worrisome development has kept U.S. researchers scrambling for new countermeasures. Back in 2013, scientists in Austin announced they were working on what they called an ultra-low-profile cloak, a technology that promised, in theory, to help turn aircraft invisible. But despite its sci-fi promise, a decade passed with no significant breakthroughs in this field, until recently. Chinese scientists announced they had managed to create what multiple outlets began to call an invisibility cloak. According to reports, the cloak is created with a material capable of adjusting its molecular composition, allowing it to disappear amid its surroundings. In experiments, researchers placed the cloak in front of different clusters of flowers. Within seconds, it shifted its colors to match the background and appeared to vanish before examiners' eyes. The project's lead researcher, Wang Dongsheng of China's University of Electronic Science and Technology, explained, quote, "Applying this technology to clothing could make an individual effectively invisible. If these reports prove to be accurate, this new creation could give China the ability to conceal ground troops more effectively than any nation in history." And this breakthrough is not even China's only progress into the field of invisibility, nor the most concerning for U.S. military planners. In 2024, scientists at Zhejiang University published details of yet another invisibility cloak. However, this one was far more advanced and potentially closer to practical use. The system was built not just to disappear against static backgrounds, but to adapt in real time, concealing drones and eventually even warplanes with some of the most cutting-edge materials and systems ever applied to a project like this. For decades, numerous attempts to achieve invisibility had gone nowhere. The best scientists could achieve was a design that was too heavy, worked only to hide a single angle from an object, and had to remain set in place. The Zhejiang team seems to have overcome these limits by combining metamaterials, substances engineered to blend and manipulate light, with an artificial intelligence system capable of rapidly processing environmental data and instructing the cloak how to adapt. To push the technology further, the scientists equipped the system with multiple external sensors. an electromagnetic field detector to track fluctuations in surrounding waves, a gyroscope to pinpoint position and movement in space, and a camera to recognize the environment and accelerate adaptation. Together, these sensors give the cloak an unprecedented ability, which scientists have described as similar to that of a chameleon or an octopus, capable of shifting its colors and textures to match its surroundings. According to the research team's final reports, during tests, the system performed exactly as planned and showcased great potential across a wide range of tests. When deployed across different types of terrain, the cloak consistently fooled radar by presenting a completely different signature than the object it was concealing. To enemy systems, it appeared not as a drone, but as part of the surrounding landscape, suggesting the system could effectively avoid enemy detection or trigger a defense response. And it's not just radar that the cloak can deceive. Its surface is covered with microscopic elements that function like pixels, switching rapidly between different states. This allows the system to blend with its surroundings in great detail and to keep adjusting even as the background itself changes in real time. Previous cloaking systems could replicate one fixed background, but failed once conditions shifted, achieving only about 88% accuracy in avoiding detection. China's new method is set to push that figure up to 94.03%. Of course, having an external operator monitoring the effectiveness of its camouflage would be very inconvenient during a future deployment. However, the cloak promises to overcome this potential issue by fine-tuning its disguise without any help. Thanks to the cloak's inner computer, it can compare multiple camouflage options. Reports suggest it gets the choice right nearly 100% of the time, even when the incoming data is confusing or unpredictable, suggesting that the system can operate as an almost entirely autonomous device. Tests for China's invisibility cloak weren't limited to simulations of ground-based operations. Once scientists were confident the system could perform the tasks it was built for, they moved on to flight trials. The drone was commanded to take off and fly through a simulated detection zone, staged with multiple antennas, designed to act as radar that would be looking for its signal across the airspace. In the first test, the drone flew without the cloak. As expected, the radar found it immediately, tracking its trajectory all the way to its target. The experiment was then repeated with the invisibility cloak activated. This time, the antennas failed to distinguish the drone from the background. It was as if nothing was flying in front of them at all. The final report did note that the cloak still produced faint waves, but these are so minimal that with the right stealth tactics, even advanced radar systems would struggle to detect them. Upon having mastered the air, the cloak also proved effective in amphibious trials, operating near bodies of water just as seamlessly as it had on the previous test, suggesting that China's system could adapt to virtually any terrain. However, perhaps the most incredible capability of this system is its ability to project illusions. In tests, the cloaked drone disguised itself as a giraffe while operating over grasslands, and as a shark when stationed at sea. According to the scientists, these false images achieved around 90% accuracy, making the drone not only invisible, but capable of passing as something entirely different. If the reported results of China's aero-amphibious invisibility cloak are to be believed, the nation may be one step closer to transforming its fleets of attack drones into virtually invisible weapons, leaving defenders unable to see where the threat's coming from. China also appears to have the resources to mass-produce this technology. According to journalists, entrepreneurs there have been investing in the kinds of metamaterials that made this project possible for over a decade. Back in 2011, it was said that the country already had enough of these materials to cloak not just drones, but potentially some of its most advanced fighter aircraft. Still, analysts caution that while the technology described by Chinese scientists seems more advanced than anything the US has publicly revealed, it's difficult to verify how much of the reporting is accurate and how much may be exaggerated for strategic effect. Showcasing breakthroughs in invisibility could serve as much to intimidate rivals as to demonstrate real battlefield readiness. Even so, the implications are clear. The US cannot afford to stand still. To prepare for a future where invisible attacks may become reality, America will need to invest in next-generation stealth and counter-stealth technologies, ensuring it has the capability to detect, deter, and strike back the moment an unseen threat emerges.